Thurman and Pacquiao's press conference. Thurman's got words. We get into that next. Please like and subscribe. Help us hit 10,000 subscribers. Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Fights. Manny Pacquiao and one-time Keith Thurman kicked off their press tour in New York City for their July 20th fight to become the unified, undisputed WBA champ. It's a sad day when we need to have a unification bout to see who holds 1/4 of the welterweight crown. This is also how far Keith Thurman has fallen without ever losing. Back in 2017, Keith Thurman unified half of the hardware in the welterweight division, capturing the WBA and WBC crown. Then 28-year-old Thurman handed in the best performance of his career on its biggest stage in front of 4 million live television viewers and a packed house at the Barclays in Brooklyn. Keith Thurman was clearly the number one welterweight in the world. It was a top 10 pound-for-pound guy. Those days are obviously long gone. He has fought just once since then, taking a hard-fought majority decision over Josesito Lopez, a gatekeeper or a journeyman, however you'd like to classify him, type of opponent. He won that fight, 8-4 on our cards, 115-111. He lost the second half of the fight, got hit a lot, and was nearly stopped in the 7th and 8th rounds, badly hurt by a sea-level guy who was badly knocked out by Andre Berto and Marcos Maidana when he was in his prime. Lopez was supposed to be easy work for Keith Thurman. Instead, it was life and death. It was, Keith Thurman was in for the fight of his life. And that's the only fight Keith's had in the last 2 years. He somehow wasn't stripped of his title for this absurd silliness and will now take on Pacquiao. Quite a jump up in talent from Lopez, and then the extended layoff. The extended layoff was caused by a series of questionable and fake injuries. But now he's back. Pacquiao has looked good in his last two performances. Getting his first stoppage in nearly a decade last year over Lucas Matthysse, and then taking a lopsided decision. We scored at 10-2 over Adrian Broner in January. Much more impressive in the last 2 years than anything Thurman's handed in. Much more impressive in the last 2 years than Keith Thurman. Pacquiao's resume over that time is obviously better over the last 2 years. Pacquiao will look to cement the final belt in his amazing run, which would be unifying the WBA title, which is strange. He should be open. He should open up, I would assume, as a sizable betting favorite, but we will see how the magicians in Vegas set the book for that fight. Keith Thurman, at today's press conference, made a few interesting comments that we want to get into at the New York City press conference. First, he said, Pacquiao, who's now 40, out with the old and in with the new. This has got to be a joke, right? Runtime is now 30 years old. He has fought 3 times in 4 years. What exactly new era are we ushering in here? Like how is he the new? He's 30 years old. He's fought 3 times in 4 years. I mean, what the new era of what? What's the new era? Of inactive fighters who dodge the best opponents and are highly inactive and try to preserve a zero by any means necessary? Well, if that's the new era, well, Keith Thurman is certainly the poster boy for that. He also said he's going to retire Manny Pacquiao. Based on their last performance, it stands to reason Manny Pacquiao has more left in his gas tank than does Keith Runtime Thurman, who is nearly iced by an aging journeyman, Josesito Lopez. We projected that Pacquiao will win this fight against Thurman on points. A one-sided decision where Keith will lose his heart after the first couple of rounds. The speed, like we talked about. Tim Bradley said that, fighting Pacquiao is like constantly avoiding daggers. We think he'll lose his heart. He'll get on his legs and try to run out the clock, run out the second half of the fight. And I think Pacquiao will take a wide decision. I think Keith will lose his heart. Keith Thurman's dedication and heart is obviously questionable, having all the fake injuries and everything like that. I would think he'll go into survival mode, and he will take his $10 million he'll get for this fight, give or take. He'll retire and play the flute in China full time, never to be heard from again. I think him saying retiring Manny Pacquiao is simply projection. I think this is a cash out fight for Keefe Poo, and this is the last time we'll see him. Interestingly enough, this is the Duck Errol Spence and Duck Terence Crawford fight. Think about it, right? Pacquiao was ringside when Spence beat Mikey, and he said he would have no problem fighting him. No problem at all fighting Spence. Immediately after Spence's dominating victory over Mikey Garcia. Shortly thereafter, Pacquiao, on his social media, put up a poll for his fans. Who would you like to see me fight next? Interestingly enough, the guy he had no problem fighting, Errol Spence, was not on his list of possible opponents. So he actually had no interest in fighting him. So why did you fly out, sit ringside for the Spence Garcia fight if you had no interest? Did he look too good? Is that the problem? I mean, that's probably the problem. So Pacquiao wanted no part of Spence. Keith Thurman quit boxing for 2 years not to fight Spence. In 2017, 2018, he said he'd fight Spence in 2019. Well, it's 2019. And Keefe Poo said, 2020. I mean, this is a joke with this guy at this point. They're also obviously ducking Terence Crawford. Pacquiao ducked and dodged every possible fight with Crawford for years while they were both over at Top Rank, doing everything he could to avoid a changing of the guards fight with Terence Bud Crawford, a fight 2-3 years ago that would have made Bud a mega superstar at either 140 or 147. Pacquiao wanted no part of that fight at all, and he left Top Rank, but was willing to fight Keith Thurman. So Pacquiao ducked and dodged Terence Crawford for years, but he walks right into a fight with Keith Thurman. Shows you the level of difficulty between Keith Thurman and Terence Crawford. They don't want any part of Terence Crawford. Keith Thurman signed me up for that fight immediately. All right, so you obviously ducked Terence Crawford over at Top Rank for years. That we know that. Keith Thurman obviously is ducking Errol Spence too, and Keith Thurman's obviously ducking Terence Crawford as well. Let's get into that. Thurman said he didn't respect Crawford at 147. Oh, cool, easy breezy. Go take the WBO strap off of him. Oh, he said he needed a year of tune-ups to get ready for Terence Crawford. So you need a year of tune-ups to get ready for a guy you don't even respect. How does that make sense? That is truly sad and pathetic. When Danny Garcia moved up from 140 to 147, good old Keefe Poo said he'd be more than happy to welcome Danny Garcia to the welterweight division. More than happy to do that. When Terence Crawford moved up to 147, Keefe Poo said, well, you see, he hasn't done anything at 147. He needs to establish himself at the welterweight division before he can fight a Keith Thurman. He's scared. I'd love to welcome Danny Garcia to welterweight, but Terence Crawford, no, undisputed champ at 147, pound for pound king. No, I don't want any of that. You have to establish yourself. Why the double standards, Keefe Poo? Why? So check it out. The ducking Errol Spence, duck Terence Crawford, WBA welterweight unification fight between the two champs looking to duck the two best guys in the division and unify 1/4 of the hardware in the 147-pound division. WBA super champ Keith Runtime Thurman and WBA regular champ, world champ, whatever you want to call it, Manny Pacquiao. Please like and subscribe. Help us hit 10,000 subscribers. Please leave us a comment. Please share this with every fight fan you know. Help us get to that 10,000 subscriber mark. For another episode of Tuesday Night Fights, this is 3D Boxing from Texas to the world, saying thank you and God bless.
Enjoy 3D Boxing vlog videos? Show us some love by clicking the like button. Don't miss a tweet, post, story, or video. 3dboxingvlog.com is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit the subscribe button now to stay inside the ring.